Welcome everybody back to Swish for Real. It's your boy Big Mike and my boy Boogie Bob. How you doing, Bob?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Man, we had so much has been happening lately as far as basketball. I know the season is over with, but the Olympics has been in the next thing that's been jumping off. Have you been watching a little bit of the Olympics, and what are your thoughts on what's going on with the Olympics currently?
uh, their London or Paris is like 6 hours ahead, so I've caught some of it. I mainly watched the highlights on ESPN. But it's been a crazy off season. I mean, with the free agency and the signings and trades and pickups and it's been a very busy. I mean, off-season free agency is usually fast-paced the first few days, but it's been crazier than I remember.
What are your thoughts on the men's Olympic team, man? I know they played Sudan and blew them out the water. When they first played Sudan, they only won by 1 point. And then the second time they played Sudan, it's like a whole different story. You think they kind of ramped up the defense as far as the U.S. team go? And how is it that, the change of the starting lineup has been such an improvement? What are your
I, I
thoughts on that?
I think part of it is Steve Kerr just is figuring out which lineup to use against which team and which matchup works best. Uh, One of those games, Jason Tatum didn't even play, but I, this is my take on the Olympic team. They're old, but they're very talented,
Mm-hmm.
and and this is just kind of my perspective. They're trying to get into the discussion of the greatest Olympic team that included pro players.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard the team redemption team because in the last FIBA they didn't uh, they didn't win gold, and I think they got beat in the last one. They didn't get gold in the Olympics. So it's like, do you like the redemption team with the current uh, KD and LeBron and the young bucks like Tatum and Edwards, and Drew Holiday? I mean, there's a lot of talent on that team. It's like if I had to pick between the redemption team and the dream team, and I'm biased, I'll just tell you right up front, I'll take the dream team all day long, the first dream team.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. It's no stopping Michael Jordan and all that cast he had with him. It's like I remember the scores where they were saying they played against, I believe it was Michigan. I think they played against behind closed doors, and they got blew out by that college team. And then everybody was trying to defer to one another, and nobody wanted to play like team ball. They were just like, "Hey, you take it," and then they got blew out, and then they didn't. Somebody filmed it. No, the film is not out there. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere, but the rumor has it that after that they played their team again, and their team like they blew their team out the water.
There's some I don't know if it's the exact footage you're talking about, but Bill Fitch is no longer with us, but he was the coach of that team, and there was some film of the West Stars with Magic going against the East Stars and Jordan and Bird, and Bird just handed the ball to Michael and said, "Go show him, young buck."
Yep, I
And
remember that
Magic
film.
said, I'm the king of the hill. Is that by the end of that practice, he goes, "There's a new sheriff in town, and I hand the keys over to you."
Michael Jordan. Yeah, that was
So
one
I
of the
mean, there
most.
was a lot of respect among those teams. Barkley was one of the favorite players on that team. Uh, this even the 11th and 12th man on that team. I don't remember if it was Robert Parrish, but you had Ewing and uh, I can't even name all of them. There's just so many, But they're talking about this team because it's statistics, and that's mainly because of Durant and LeBron. LeBron being the all-time leading scorer, but in the plethora of three-point shots, with Stephen Curry, and so they're trying to compare it to the Dream Team and two different ages. But Uh, if the dream team decided to play bully ball against this team, I don't think they would know what to do.
So the snubs that were not included on this team, the one that comes to mind is Jalen Brown. People like why he didn't make the team, and he was the MVP of the finals. What was the reasonings that you think that the coaching staff or even the Olympic basketball program itself, why they didn't pick up Jalen Brown?
Well, a- some of it's politics, but the majority of it is a fit. You know, depending on who they already have, and I think they already had Devin Booker by the time they got it around. It wasn't that Brown didn't deserve to be on the team. You know, Kawhi was originally supposed to be on the team. I just think they looked at it instead of positionless. They looked at we got to have this many centers, this many power forwards, this many guards. So the traditional lineup, so that they had versatility, but enough that they had height and ball handlers. And I think it was just one of those odd man outs, kind of like when they choose all stars. You know, a few years ago, you had to choose the center, and they changed it to positionless, so you could, in theory, you could have five guards make the starting lineup in an all star game. But I think it just came down to numbers. Uh, there's several players that probably got left off that, like they when Kawhi dropped off, they picked up Drew Holiday.
Hmm. So, who would you would have prefer to have if you had a choice between Derek White and Jalen Brunson on that squad? Who would you choose?
Depends who I'm playing against. That's a that I love Jalen Brown, but
I
we
mean
saw in the
Jalen Brunson, in the guard position.
Brunson.
Yeah.
He gives you more scoring, but I like Derek White because he plays defense first and he's not too shabby offensively. We saw in the finals
Hmm.
Derek White going up and blocking shots from guys that were 6'8", 6'9". You know,
Yeah. And he
I
lost
think
a tooth in that series.
he's underrated. He's not the big name, but you got to remember Brunson's only done it in the last 2 seasons. I mean, he just started turning on in the Mavericks, but it's just been his last 2 years with the Knicks and mainly last year. Uh, his game is very similar to Luca. Copied a lot of that up and under, go forward, go backward, slow down. Uh,
Hmm.
very talented, but I don't think it came down to White versus Brunson. It was more of Steph Curry versus Brunson.
Mm. So you
Yeah,
think if it wasn't for Steph Curry, and because Steph Curry doesn't give you the defense exactly, what I mean, if I
but
have
he
to choose,
knows Kerr's offense.
yeah, yeah, he's a better offensive player than Bronson. I really can't. He's a better shooter than Bronson as far as 3 point goes, but
Yeah,
offensively, I think they're comparable besides the 3 point shooting.
yeah. Colangelo that owned the Phoenix Suns for a long time
Hmm.
used to pick the Olympic team. I'm not sure who it is now, but the coach gets a lot of input. So, if it's Steve Kerr and they're like, hey, you can have your guy Stephen Curry, you can have Jalen Brunson, or you can have somebody else. Well, coach is going to pick a guy he's known for 8 years or 9 or 10 years, however long they've been together.
I agree with that. So moving on to the next subject, the Clippers, man, they have had a horrendous offseason, man. They lost Paul George, they lost Russell Westbrook. It looks like they signed Harden. What is going on in Clipperland nowadays? I mean, they got the brand new stadium. It's an amazing stadium from what I've seen, but will that team that they have coming back next year will be enough to fill that stadium up?
Well, I want to address that, but first, I think the Clippers, and you're going to see a couple other teams be in the same situation. They spent all their future draft capital, and with the new apron, it it just made it pretty much impossible to keep 4 supermax players on the team. And they traded away so many assets. They don't have any draft rights. They don't have anybody coming in. So I think the apron did a lot of that to them. But to answer your question, I, they're a mess. I mean, they got knocked out in the first round. Part of that was maybe because Kawhi didn't play, but it wasn't like the Mavericks squeaked by them. They pretty much manhandle them. Uh, Next year, without PG-13, who played the most games of his career last season,
Hmm.
and without Westbrook coming off the bench, play in at best. To me, they're a lottery team. That's my
Mm.
prediction. And
So,
and, and the sad thing is their pick is not going to even go to them.
so with them picking up Derrick Jones Jr. from the Mavs, is that better than what they had out of Westbrook, or is it just a downgrade? What are your thoughts?
Well, he's not going to play what Westbrook played. He's going to play more uh, what Paul George did for him. But he's not quite the scorer. I mean, I love Derrick Jones Jr. He's like Dorian Finney-Smith, but is a good glue player. But uh, I just you lose a lot with Paul George. Paul George was
Mm-hmm.
a two-way player. He could score. He's a good defender. So Derrick Jones might be just slightly better defender, but there's no way he's in the same stratosphere scoring wise. I just that to me, which was the second point, is that they don't have near as much talent and they don't have a bench.
Mm-hmm.
You know, PG-13, Paul George, that's a big loss. Westbrook, even though he's limited and never improved his shooting, we'll get to him in a minute. That leaves a big hole at the point guard position. Uh, Bottom line is there's not enough talent and there's not enough bench, and they don't really have any assets to go get to fill those holes. And my feeling is Kawhi is approaching the backside of his career.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's on quite tip that scale, but it isn't going to go up. So I mean, he played the most games that he's had. I estimate next year he'll only be able to play 50, 55 games. I think he played like in the 60s this year. His knees, his, his knees and his quad, they're almost gone. Like if you don't have legs, then there you got no game. And he tried to play for the Olympics even after what 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks off
Mm-hmm.
and practiced a couple times and then couldn't go. And you pay all that money to Kawhi and not Paul George. Uh, they were our prediction last year. I said the Clippers only go as far as their health, and they had good health last year, and they still didn't go. They had what the 4th seed. So
Yeah, and we were fifth. And the thing with the knee stuff for Kawhi, it reminds me of the career of Brandon Roy.
yeah, I think Brandon Roy might have been a little higher on him. He was still on the ascending. Uh, the Kawhi Leonard in Toronto, that to me was probably his peak.
Mm.
I'm not saying he's a bad player. He's still very good. That's kind of like Michael Jordan step on the court today and probably better than half of the players in the league.
At
There's some
50 something.
players that don't can't jump, can't run, and still beat
Ah.
you. And Kawhi is kind of one of those guys, but the reason they call him the Claw is because he's got like one hand like two of mine together, and the long reach, and he's got great basketball IQ. But it, I always said in pickup games, I'll take speed over height every time because if you can't get your feet there, it don't matter how tall you are.
Yeah.
And same thing applies with Kawhi. If his legs won't let him get there, it doesn't matter how good his IQ is to anticipate things. Uh, you still see flashes. The thing is, when you're, what is he, 34, 35, somewhere in there?
He's probably in early 30s for sure. So
And
with that
then
team,
you got Harden as at 36.
Mhm.
So, you know, instead of four guys now, you're down to two. And, Harden's going to have to carry that team. They're just, Derrick Jones Jr. will help them, but it just not enough talent, and I don't think you're going to get enough out of Kawhi.
But you're
It's a
forgetting
shame
Terrence
because
Mann and PJ Tucker. They're still there. And then
they were
Zubac,
looking
he
to
wasn't
cut
bad.
PJ Tucker, and they still got Ivan Zubac,
Hmm.
who Luca loves to play against. They re-signed Nicholas Batum.
And I
Uh,
don't understand why they re-signed him. He really wasn't showing up any time at all.
he's what was the guy that played at Portland that was kind of like that? Nobody wanted him, but he always was a hustle player, and he was kind of a double double. He's like, I think his first name was George, but he'd always had rebound like crazy. He was a hustle player, glue player.
Hmm.
Went from team to team to team. Was kind of underrated. That's what Batum is.
Yeah.
Kind of like a Sean Battier without quite the scoring.
So what will be the starting lineup for the Clippers if you had to think about it?
Well, you got Zubac, Leonard, and Harden. Those three for sure. Probably Derrick Jones Jr. I'm not sure.
And
Maybe
Terrence Mann.
Bethune might be the other starter.
Terrence Mann is definitely going to be a starter.
Uh, yeah, him or Bethune one.
And they picked up Kevin Porter Jr. as well.
I like Kevin Porter Jr., but he's just had some bad luck. So I it's ironic they traded all those draft picks to get Paul George, and they let Paul George go, and then they trade all those picks to get Harden, and they gave all the cap space to Philadelphia. So, best I remember, they don't have any swaps or any first round picks for quite a while.
Mm. And speaking of Russell Westbrook, Russell Westbrook, that's a tongue teaser right there, twister for sure. What do you think about his career thus far, man? You think he's a Hall of Famer, or does he have a lot more to prove in his career, being at 35 years old?
Well, you and me have talked about this in private. I don't think on a podcast, but I called Russell Westbrook Patrick Beverly. He just Patrick Beverly, just a thug now with no talent, and a lot of people liked him. I'm like, yeah, he played with a lot of hustle, a lot of grit and defense, and in your face. But even in his best years, he was just okay. I, Westbrook, I think Mark Cuban at the time he got a lot of flack for it, but I think Mark Cuban nailed it when he said that Westbrook was not a superstar.
Mm.
Uh,
Even when he was averaging a triple double?
that was about the time Mark Cuban made that statement, and the first words I put down for Russell Westbrook legacy, he's a stat stuffer.
Mm.
So he's extremely athletic. He gets to the rim. He definitely hustles. He's a decent defender because he can still jump through the roof even after several meniscus, surgeries. Uh, but I I don't think when the Hall of Fame looks at him, he might get in, but I don't look at him as a superstar. He's he's never. I mean, he'll hit an occasional outside shot. The only person I can think of that has those kind of stats that shot worse was Rondo, but Westbrook is a poor outside shooter, and he's never really improved his shooting. Jason Kidd was knocked on for that, for not being a good shooter, and he hired a
Mhm.
coach. And late in his career, you didn't leave him open for three because he modified his shooting stroke and he became a good shooter. So Kidd relied on athleticism when he was younger, so he made
Mhm.
that transition. What, 38 when he won a championship with the Mavericks? So
Facts.
Westbrook hasn't made an effort to make that transition. And when you rely on your athletics to be a good or great player, eventually, Barkley's called it. He said, "Father Time always wins." Like, you might still be able to jump, you might still be able to run, but age is catching up with Westbrook. He couldn't make it with the Lakers. Uh, he's been on what? He's been on Houston, and Houston traded him somewhere, and then they traded him to the Lakers, and the Lakers let him go. Then he was signed. Then he's the Clippers. The Clippers let him go. Now he's with Denver.
Yeah.
Like,
And speaking of stat stuffers, he kind of reminds me of when Antoine Walker was playing that role as a stat stuffer.
well, definitely on the 3-point shooting. You never wanted to see Antoine Walker make his first 3-point shot because he would jack up 8 or 9 more after that, thinking he was going to have a hot night, and he'd miss 8 or 9 in a row.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember that.
the one thing I will say is that the Oklahoma City team that played Miami when Serge Ibaka and Kendrick Perkins and young Durant and young Harden and the young Westbrook
Hmm.
uh, and Nick Collison was on that team. Harden didn't show up in the finals. Durant had a hard time. Uh, they kept stealing the ball from him. But Westbrook, I remember one of the games he scored 40 plus points. It was like 42 points. I mean, Westbrook tried to will him to victory. Like he was, and that was in Miami, like game 3 or 4. And
Hmm.
he tried to will him to victory, but Harden kind of just brick city like he did in Houston a few years later when he like what was it? They hit as a team they hit like 1 of 27 or something like that from 3-point range and lost to Golden State. But I'll give it to Russ that he's as a coach a love player that hustles and
I agree.
he he I w- he showed up in those finals, but he ain't that Westbrook anymore. And
Mhm.
I don't think when the Clippers played the Mavs, I don't really think the coaching staff was all that worried about Westbrook.
Yeah, for career, he's 21.7 points a game, shooting the his shooting percentage is at 43.8. He's 7.1 rebounds for his career, 8.1 assists, and 1.6 with steals, which is not bad for a good career for that he had. But I
Yeah,
don't,
and he had
I
an
don't
MVP year and a setup year, and he had, Oklahoma City was still pretty good. He had players that can knock down shots. Uh, I made the comparison earlier. He was kind of like Rondo. Rondo on that Boston team had a lot of older guys that hit the shots. Uh, Playoff Rondo was better than regular season Rondo.
true, true.
They're very similar. They both could get to the rim, not that great at shooting. Uh, for me, it's kind of. I mean, I first heard the stat when they used to talk about Larry Bird and then later on Dirk, the 50-40-90 club.
Mm,
50% from the field, 40% from 3-point range, and 90% from the free throw line.
hmm.
Uh, now you're talking about a superstar. Even in his averaging a triple double for 3 years, Oscar Robertson type numbers, he
Mm.
was never close to the 50-40-90 club.
And that's a shame for a player that had that much potential. I think that, like the opportunity he had when he was Oklahoma and had that squad they had, they should have won an NBA championship, but it just they faced against a Miami team that was not going to go away easy.
Yeah, and at that time he was strictly drive
Yeah,
the hole, dunk it, drive the hole. He didn't lay it up back then. And just everything was going to the rim.
yeah, and they had not enough shooting. They had a bunch of individual scores at the time with Westbrook and Kevin Durant, but now I'm sorry, Harden and Kevin Durant individually scores. They just didn't have enough shooting outside to win that series.
Yeah,
But yeah,
they
I
had multiple opportunities with other teams, and just you know, he. I think your comparison with earlier, how Brandon Warren kind of went, but he. I don't know how many years. I'd have to look it up how many years Rondo played, but his last 3 or 4 years, he was just a shell of his former self. And to me, watching him against the Mavs this year, all I saw was Patrick Beverly.
Yeah, because he was really trying to get after it, trying to
He,
be as
he
aggressive
was
as he
trying to
did.
hurt people. He wasn't just trying to block shots. He was trying to hurt people. He was just playing thug ball.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think his impact will be in Denver? And I think he's going to be okay, but he's definitely going to have to shore up their bench and give him some opportunities to have some type of leadership out there when he's out there. And if he can't, I don't know what they're going to do. Will they trade him mid-season, or I don't know. What does his impact will look like to you?
Well, I mean, he's a two-year contract with a player option, and he's only like 4 million. So not really much of a trade because the veteran minimum is right about what they're paying him. Uh, what it gives Denver is it keeps them off that second apron, and if they can get anywhere close to what Bruce Bowen gave them, or even what Gary Payton Jr. gave the Warriors that year they won the championship, you know, all he 15, 18 minutes a game, and I'll just say, 6, 8 points, 6, 8, 6 around 4, 5, 6 rebounds, 8, same in assist. If he
Mhm.
can give that to him, uh, or fill in when Jamal Murray eventually gets hurt.
Yeah,
So
I think he's going to definitely be relegated to the bench for sure. And to start the season, I think that's what they're going to be using him for as far as leadership when it comes to the second team coming in. He's going to sub out Jamal Murray when it's time for Jamal to take his rest during games. So um, I just don't see if he's going to be like a beneficial impact. Not saying that he's a terrible player, which he's clearly not. He's still serviceable, but he's not going to be an immediate impact for that Denver team.
yeah, much like Rondo late in his career.
Correct,
He'll
correct,
he'll help you, but he won't hurt you. You know.
correct. So, I mean, speaking of teams, Denver and per se, the offseason has had a lot of movement, and there's been some goods and bads when it comes to the offseason. I've been really keeping an eye on what Charlotte's been doing. I hope LaMelo gets what he needs as far as a good serviceable squad. And if we look at all the teams across the board, which team you think has had the best offseason?
Well, Cleveland just locked up Jared Allen yesterday,
Mm,
so they've got their four best players. It wasn't a trade or free agency, but Mobley, Mitchell, uh, Jared Allen, and who am I forgetting? The other guy, the fourth guy. They got them all locked up. Uh,
Devin Donovan Mitchell, right?
well, Donovan Mitchell was the third. I'm trying. Oh, Darius Garland. I
Hmm.
don't. Was he the extension? But I know not Mobley, Allen, Mitchell, and one other player all got extensions.
And did they
And
pick
you
up?
got it.
Did they pick up Sagoon? I'm not quite sure. I don't remember if they picked up Sagoon or not, or is he still in Houston?
Not sure.
Let me
I
take
just
a
know that because they were talking about when they extended Jared Allen that was the fourth player of their big four that they've extended. You got to give Boston credit. They maneuvered the salary cap and extended, you know, Tatum and White. Uh, they last year was Brown and Porzingis, so they managed teams as far as the cap. But these were my three teams that I think had the best off season. Philadelphia number one. We got Paul George
hmm
and Caleb Martin, and added some other pieces. Uh, Number two, Oklahoma City. Picked up Caruso as a good defender, can shoot a little bit like Derek White in that sense. And more importantly, they picked up Hartenstein
Oh
that
yeah, that
will
was a
help.
big pickup.
Yeah, they got him a center that can give him 20 minutes a game and play some defense and lighten the load on Chet Holmgren. They, as the Mavs showed, they needed some height. And then I really think the Mavs had a pretty good offseason. Uh, Najee Marshall, in my mind, can give you what Derek Jones Jr. gave you uh, defensively, and from the what clips I've watched, he gives you better offense. I mean, he can floor it.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
he's very
highlight reel, the flashy dunks and the flying down the court will always get everybody's attention. But I think Najee Marshall is probably just a little bit of an upgrade. Klay Thompson, not the player he used to be, but and he's going to have some down nights, but he's going to have some up nights. I trust his shot a lot more than I do Tim Hardaway Jr.
mm,
Uh, Hardaway Jr. loved him, I love that he could knock down and he could. I think he scored 40 in one game this last year, but he just every time there was pressure, you saw this in Michigan. I mean, you're a big Michigan fan when they got in the Sweet 16 and they were trying to make it. Hardaway is one of those guys that just kind of shriveled up because when the stage got bigger, he just kind of shrunk as a player. And Clay's not going to do that. Even if he's missed 10 in a row, he's still going to take the 11th shot.
hmm
I think there
But
was a few years ago they said he took the least amount of dribbles among all the active NBA players.
yeah, I heard
So,
that.
so he knows how to move without the ball. Uh, he won't be quite the defender that Derek Jones Jr. was, but Derek Jones Jr. was good on the ball, but he struggled against power forward. I think Clay's got just enough left defensively that he'll be average at least. Uh, but you can't leave him wide open. That's a practice shot for him. And hated to see Josh Green go,
Yeah,
but I think Quentin Grimes, for what Josh Green gave you, I think Quentin Grimes can give that to you.
yeah.
And they're
Quentin
just
is a great defensive player. I like what he brings as far as the Mavs go.
and Josh Green was limited offensively. His shot got better, but his handles, his moves to the hole, and his ability to beat a player one on one just never never got better. He was just kind of like a Jay Crowder in a way, but a smaller version. He could hit the 3-pointer, but you never hardly he could dunk it. He could fly down but you never seen him like if someone really defended him, he'd pass the ball. He's like, I'm going to lose the ball. Let me pass to somebody before I lose the ball. It's like in the NBA, you got to at least be able to dribble good enough to beat one man. And I think Quentin Grimes can do that. Uh,
Yeah,
so, and then today they filled. I don't know if you they they uh they picked up Spencer Dinwiddie,
I
who's a
know.
ball.
Yeah, we posted it on the channel. That was a good
So
pickup. I mean, I kind of felt bad that Dinwiddie kind of threw a dart at the Mavs when he was with the Lakers, but I think the Mavs kind of brushed that off and say, "Hey, come on back home."
yeah, they're like all is forgiven, come back and play. And he's already played with Lucas.
Yeah,
And then today they picked up. I don't know if you watched the summer league team, but
that
this guy that's
7'5" center.
7'5".
Yeah, he's gonna be he's on a 2-way contract, so I want to see what he's gonna do.
Well, most guys that are that tall, Wemby's one of the few that doesn't, but uh, most of them that tall, they're they move, they just not move smoothly.
Yeah,
And people call them clunky or weird or there's all different kinds of terms, but the guy moves well uh, for 7'5", and he's not slow. Uh, Someone
he's
said give him Boban's contract. I think Boban is a little heavier, but
yeah.
Boban couldn't move his feet enough to. If he went right at him, he could block the shot. But the Mavs are always taking a shot at a guy like that. They took Salah Mejri and a whole bunch of others, so we'll see. But as Donnie Nelson used to say, you can't coach height.
Because he
Seven
kind of
five is
reminds me of
7'5".
he kind of reminds me of Sagana Job. Remember Sagana Job when he was here?
I like Sagana Job. Yeah.
Yeah. So he might pull that same thing as far as performance wise. The Knicks also had a great all season. They got all the most of the Villanova starting five.
Yeah, I would put them in there. I didn't put them in the top three. Mainly, I mean, I like Mikal Bridges. He did a lot but you gave up five. I mean, I know they have like 9 or 10 first round draft picks, so they didn't care. But 5 first round draft picks and then pay a max contract to get one player. I'm like, he's good, but he's not that good. If he was been that good, I don't think Phoenix would have got rid of him.
Yeah, I think what they're trying to do is get a chemistry between all those players. Hart, uh, um, Bronson, Bridges, and what's that?
DiVincenzo.
DiVincenzo. Yeah, DiVincenzo. So that four, wow, you know what I mean? They're gonna be all right. I don't know what they're gonna do with Julius Randle. That's gonna be a question. I don't know if he's gonna be there. I think they're gonna probably try to move him.
There's question. I mean, they'll try to move. There's been rumors that the Mavs would try to trade him, and he plain flat doesn't want to play in Dallas. He's had 3 opportunities to sign a contract here and has
And
passed
he's
every
local.
time.
He's a local kid. I don't know why he wouldn't
Yeah,
want
he
to come.
played at Prestonwood,
Yeah.
but New York's gonna miss Hartenstein. You know, they're gonna have to rely on Mitchell Robinson, who's good, but he's injured a lot.
Yeah. I mean, they got some squads. They got some good people on their squad. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson is not going to be bad, and Jericho Sims is going to probably get some time. We'll see how it's going to work out for them for sure.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put him in the top 3, but I would put him in the top 5 as far as off season. Who else do you have that's having a great off season?
Like I said earlier, Charlotte is like they've been really vamping up. They've been looking like they trying to win now. You know what I mean? They had some good pickups for their squad this summer, and I think what they're going to be doing is going to surprise a few people.
Well, I wish
That's
uh, uh, Cavs Nation JJ was on. We could ask him about Cleveland.
oh yeah, he'd probably give us a whole earful. Yeah, I really do like Charlotte, man. They're gonna surprise a bunch of people, man, because I think
So,
what they're gonna
so
be able
which
to
team
do.
do you think had the worst off season?
Miami, and I don't know why they come to mind. They haven't done nothing. They haven't really increased or decreased, or they just kind of quietly just doing what they do. And I think that's just the Pat Riley culture. They're gonna surprise you in the end. And they always work hard, play hard, and do what they need to do, but they're truly quiet. If I had to think of a team right off the top, Miami would be the one. The second one I would say is Phoenix, because Phoenix has been pretty quiet too. They haven't really done much. Those two teams, I think they might surprise you coming up the season, because Phoenix always, with Devin Booker being there and now Kevin Durant playing alongside him, they still can make the playoffs if they just continue to
They
build on.
just picked up Tyus Jones.
Yeah, I've seen that, but that's a quiet pickup. You know what I mean? It's not a ripple in the ocean to me. It's just like it's not. Tyus Jones is good, but he's more like bench player good, 6 man good. But if I
So
have to choose,
I think Chicago is one of those teams that's really had a bad off season.
yeah, losing the
DeRozan.
Rosen and did they lose the Rosen?
Yeah, he went to Sacramento.
That's right. He came back home, and then they lost. They got from the ones from the Lakers. I
So
can't remember.
they've got a big contract in Zach Levine that they can't move,
Yeah,
and you've got the other Ball brother who hasn't played in 2 years because of injury.
LaMelo. Yeah, it's something. I don't know, man. I like LaMelo. I'd rather have seen him play for Lakers again? Because I think he had his
Lonzo,
best.
wasn't it?
Yeah, Alonzo. I'm sorry. I'd rather
Yeah,
see Alonzo play for the Lakers again.
yeah. LaMelo's in Charlotte.
Yeah, my bad. I'm just they names are so similar.
Yeah, and
LaMelo,
then they got LiAngelo, who I think is
LiAngelo.
still
Yeah,
playing in Australia.
I'm surprised he hasn't made the league though. I heard he can hoop.
So, Golden State added Buddy Hield.
That was a good. I wouldn't say he's comparable to um Clay Thompson, but he has a great shooter percentage from three, and they're calling them to the splash buddies.
Yeah, so that the one team that hasn't made any moves that I hear a lot of chatter about is other than Chicago not moving Levine is Utah, and I think they're waiting because there's an extension eligible coming up in October, but they're looking to move Laurie Markkinen.
Yeah, and I think Laurie Markkinen, I'm thinking they're trying to get him down to San Antonio. If that happens,
San Antonio picked up Harrison Barnes. Where would Markkinen play?
I would start him over Harrison, to be honest, because you got two 7-footers out there that can play defense and offense. Harrison will just have to come off the bench. What are your thoughts?
I think you could try to move him back to small forward like he played at Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but Markkinen would definitely help with the scoring with with Wemby,
Oh yeah,
you know. And I don't know if you watched the summer league, but the point guard that they drafted from Kentucky looked pretty good.
yeah, and that's one of the key things with the Popovich system is having a great point guard who's just not afraid to pass the ball. And I don't think he had that for the last couple of years. He hasn't had a great point guard.
Yeah, they traded them both away. They had Derek White and they had DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, and they all both of them are still having really good careers.
So what
That's
do you
great.
think Atlanta improved or you think Atlanta by dealing Murray, do you think Atlanta made it?
Yeah, Atlanta did not improve because Murray he was basically the Robin to Trey Young. I mean, how you gonna get rid of a scorer like that kid and not replace him with something even better or even close? I don't see what Atlanta's doing over there. Maybe they
I,
have
I
something
don't I
different.
don't think Atlanta's finished. I think they'll probably trade Trey Young.
Where
The
would he
Lakers
go?
would
I
love to
he
have Trey Young.
Yeah, they've been saying that's been a rumor that he may go to the Lakers, but I'm thinking he might end up in Chicago.
Yeah, I could see that.
But then you have that other kid. His name is White. What's his first name? Derek White. Is it his name? Let me look because I know he's the point guard right now in Chicago.
Uh, well, Levine plays off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Kobe White.
Kobe White. Yeah, I knew it was one of them. Kobe White. Because he's the guard now for them, and I don't know if they'll move him off that position to bring in Trey. But that would be the best fit for Trey because then Derek White, they could play alongside each other, but then they'll be a very small team. But yeah, I don't know. That doesn't sound right to me. So I don't know. That would probably be a bad fit for Chicago. But then they'll get rid of if they trade, they can get rid of Zach's contract. And maybe that would be better for them in the long run. But I don't see where Trey could go other than Lakers or Chicago.
Yeah, unless he goes to some place in the West like Portland.
And plus, Chicago got Josh Giddey as well. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that
they
would
got
be a bad
Giddey.
fit. Now, if they trade straight up from White for Trey Young, that'll look good. But then you
Yeah,
have,
salaries are a little off because I think Trey Young signed a supermax the same year that Luca did.
sheesh, Supermax are crazy. But those are my thoughts as far as the off season. I really think Charlotte did a great job, and I think they're gonna push forward and continue to be better. So yeah. So moving along right along, what are your thoughts on Bronny James being signed for the Lakers for what 2 year contract? No, it's a 3 year contract. It's first year is 1.1 million, second year 1.9, third year is 2.2, and it looks like there's 2024, 2020, 2025, 2026, 7, and
Yeah,
2028.
one
That's
of them.
cool.
I think the last year is a player option or team option.
Gotcha. Oh, it is for the team option.
So, so you remember the infamous Jalen Brunson unrestricted free agent
Hmm.
that says he played 4 years. So when they signed him with Jalen Hardy, they didn't make the same mistake. They signed him to a 3+1. So it was a 4 year contract, but the fourth year is an option, which allows them to make him a restricted free agent. So when Brunson's first signed with the Mavericks, it was a straight 4 year, which made him an unrestricted free agent earlier than anybody in his draft class.
Hmm.
So that may be some of it. My honest opinion, and I mean I did a short video on Bronny before the draft. Uh, they placated the LeBron, pure and simple. He had
Explain
already
yourself.
signed it. Well, placating is bowing to somebody's wishes and giving them what they desire. And he
Ah,
had signed that extension, and by by giving LeBron his desire to want to play with his son, uh, that that was almost unsaid package deal. A little bit like Brunson's dad being a coach with the Knicks and his agent being the GM, former agent. But they were placating LeBron. I'll predict this: he plays 90% of his games this year in the G League.
that's the best bet for him right now.
Yeah, and there's a Vegas got a lot of money on him winning Rookie of the Year.
They do.
Yeah, there's a lot of bets for because of the odds about Bronny winning Rookie of the Year. Like,
How would
yeah,
he? I
no,
don't see how he'll that even be possible.
yeah, I don't think so.
Because
He,
his draft mate Connect is better than him.
yeah, yeah, Connect probably make the team because they need the shooting. Uh, Bronny is athletic. I mean, he gets that from his dad, but he's a below average shooter. To me, he's just an average player, but he's what, 20, 19, 20? He played
Mhm.
1 year at USC. I watched him a couple times when Sierra Cannon came to Dallas. Uh, Flashy, yeah. He's got some dribble, and you can tell he's got some IQ, but he he just I don't know that they say he's 6'1", but I don't. I've seen him up close, and I don't think he's 6'1". I think he's more like JJ Barea size.
Really? Some analysts have him at 6'3". Where is these heights coming from?
Well, some of it's when they list them in high school, some of it's when they go to college. It's possible he hit a growth spurt, but when he was a senior at Sierra Canyon, I'm 6 foot and he wasn't taller than me.
Oh wow.
And and you're like 6'3", 6'4".
Well, me, I'm 6'2".
So I mean, you'd be about that much taller than him.
Oh wow. No way.
Uh, he's going to have to make it with defense, pure and simple. Until his
Yeah.
shooting or his handles get better, he's going to have to make it with defense. I mean, he's going to be on the highlight reel. I'll make this other bold prediction. You will see an ESPN clip of LeBron throwing an alley oop to Bronny for a slam dunk, and they'll make such a big deal about it that it will be all over ESPN. But just you heard it here first on Swish for Real. LeBron to Bronny for a slam dunk alley oop. I guarantee you it's going to happen once this year.
Are you that maybe in preseason? You think they'll bring him up?
No, I'm talking about regular season game.
Hmm.
I'm talking about regular season game. Just, just to, just to build the hype. You know,
Yeah, I can see it happening, but this year I'm thinking like you stated earlier, he probably 90% in the G League. I don't see him really getting any play time. Maybe at the end of the season, probably bring him up depending on how he performs in the G League. And maybe they placate to LeBron, be like, "Hey man, we're gonna bring your son up game 5." I don't know, but my thought process is with yours is I think 90%. He probably end up playing maybe at the end of the year.
well, I'll put this out there. Okay, the Texans Legends play in the G League, and then they're now affiliated with well, they've got a Mavs hookup, but they also got another sponsor. So when Ronnie comes to town, if you subscribe to Swish for Real, we can hook you up, take you to a game. There'll be one ticket available, maybe two. Not saying how many or which one. But if you want to see Bronny play in the G League, subscribe to Swish for Real. We'll hook you up.
And also, I'll put a caveat on that one. You can also get a T-shirt from Swish for Real as well. So we'll see it. So, any more thoughts on Bronny James?
I'm rooting for him. You know, from what you read, his younger brother is better than he is. So
Oh, yeah. That's
I
what
mean,
the
I like the kid. It's like I can't imagine. Just think, this is this is what LeBron's 21st season, and next year or 22nd. See, I think it's his 21st, and next year he'll be 22nd to tie Vince Carter.
oh yeah,
So so every basically every year that Ronnie's been alive, his dad's been in the NBA and the focal point and a lot of press. So like I'm rooting for the kid. That is a lot of pressure to grow up with.
yeah, especially having that type of dad with that type of pull. It's like having the gravitational pull of the planet when you have that type of responsibility in being the kid of LeBron James.
Yeah, always in the spotlight.
Facts. Now I'm rooting for the kid too, man. I don't want him to fail. I think I see him really trying his best to make it, and he may as well just kind of like Doug Christie's kids, kind of like Paul Boozer's kid. These kids going to be coming up. There's a lot of kids coming in, man, and I think a lot of them has the opportunity to make it. And same thing with Carmelo's kid, man. Kenyon, it's going to be.
Scottie Pippen Jr.
Yeah, I love that kid too at the point guard position, man. I've rooted for him when I first seen him. I was like, man, did you see that kid? That kid, he can hoop. You know what I
Well,
mean?
so the Carlos Boozer has twins,
I know.
and they've been rated pretty high.
Yeah, those kids gonna be something awesome, man. It's been an amazing season so far. As far as the off season go, I think there's gonna be a lot of some changes in the midseason when it comes. I don't know what the Mavericks going to do. You know, we always focus on the Mavs a lot. So hopefully they gel during the preseason, get ready to play, and we'll see what they're going to be like, man. I got high hopes for them, man. I'm thinking they might make the finals again, but it's going to be tougher because this is the West. And with Klay Thompson being added, can they finally get over that hump and lift up that trophy?
I agree with you, but the only team from the West to make the finals in back-to-back years in the last 20 years has been Golden State.
Yeah,
I may be wrong, but that's the last one I remember to go back to back.
yeah,
Now there's
and it'll
been
be
teams in
awesome.
the East. There's been Miami's gone back to back.
Yeah,
Boston's gone back to back. There's been other teams from the East to go, but from the West, other than Golden State, there hadn't been a team that I remember going to the finals back to back years.
yeah, yeah. And I was going to state it would be awesome to see Klay Thompson win a trophy with the Mavs.
Yeah, will he do a Shaq did to Kobe? Will he go, Steph, you got 4 rings, but I got 5?
That'd be awesome, man. But hey, it's been a great show as always, people. I'm glad my guy is back in the building doing his thing, looking good. Got the new specs, man. We got our new Swish for Real shirts. Again, we'll get those to you. If you subscribe, we can probably pick out the best subscriber, but we'll work that out, man. Bob, tell the people where they can find you at online and give them a little bit about you, man.
You can find me, Boogie Bob, on YouTube. And you can find me on Swish for Real.
Yes, sir. And same thing, you can find me on YouTube here at Swish for Real. We're always trying to bring you the good stuff, man. We appreciate y'all tuning in, and this is Swish for Real. Have a great one, guys. Peace.